A Boeing 777 with 239 people on board does not just vanish. And yet, 12 years later, that is exactly what MH370 did. So what actually happened to it? Everyone has a theory. A fire, a hijacking, the captain, a government cover-up, even aliens. Tonight, we test every serious theory and the wildest ones against the only thing that never lies: the evidence. Because the real story of MH370 is not that we have no answers. It is that the evidence rules almost all of them out and quietly points at one. MH370. Every theory explained. Investigators also any theory has to survive 5 hard facts. 1. The transponder went dark at 1:21 in the morning at the exact blind spot between Malaysian and Vietnamese airspace. 2. The aircraft then turned around and flew a deliberate waypoint-by-waypoint path back across the country and up the Strait of Malacca. 3. At 2:25, its satellite unit rebooted. Powered off, then deliberately back on for reasons no one has fully explained. 4. For 6 more hours, it kept answering hourly satellite handshakes, tracing 7 arcs deep into the empty southern Indian Ocean. 5. A year later, real wreckage washed up on the shores of Africa, and a recovered wing flap was not set for a landing. Hold those 5 facts in your head. Every theory you are about to hear lives or dies on how many of them it can explain. And here is why this case bred so many theories. When a disaster leaves a clear trail, the wrong explanations die fast. MH370 left almost none. Into that vacuum rushed every idea imaginable, from the sober to the insane. Theory 1. The ghost flight. Theory 1, and the gentlest. Nobody was in control. A sudden loss of cabin pressure knocked out everyone on board, and the jet flew on autopilot like a ghost until the fuel ran dry. For this to be the answer, the timing has to be brutal. The crew must lose the ability to act before they can descend to breathable air or turn back to land. One version, raised by pilots and by many of you in the comments, is chillingly specific. A crew oxygen cylinder ruptures. The cabin decompresses in seconds, and the crew black out from hypoxia before they can save themselves. At 35,000 feet, a person has less than a minute of useful consciousness after a sudden decompression. It is fast and it is silent. No struggle. No radio call. Just quiet. The case for it is strong. It explains the silence, the missing Mayday, and that long, straight, final flight into nowhere. It needs no villain at all. But here is what it cannot explain. A ghost flight does not carefully turn around, follow navigation waypoints, and thread the blind spot between 2 countries. And it does not reboot its own satellite unit. Those look like choices. And crucially, an unconscious crew cannot reboot a satellite unit at 2:25 in the morning. That single event is very hard for any pure accident theory to swallow. Verdict: hypoxia may genuinely explain the last 6 hours. It struggles badly to explain the first 20 minutes. Theory 2. The fire. Theory 2. Fire. A veteran pilot named Chris Goodfellow argued the turnback was not sinister at all. It was a crew doing exactly the right thing. In his theory, a fire breaks out, maybe an overheating tire or an electrical fault. The crew turn immediately toward the nearest airport with a long runway, the island of Langkawi, and are overcome by smoke before they can land. Aviation has seen this before. Real fires have forced real crews to turn and race for the nearest runway, and sometimes lose that race. So the idea is not absurd on its face. It is an elegant idea. That first turn really does point roughly toward a real emergency airport. The case for it makes the pilots heroes, not killers. But the timing betrays it. The transponder and the reporting system went silent minutes apart in a clean, ordered sequence. A fire tearing through an aircraft rarely switches systems off so tidily. The case against is heavy. A fire bad enough to kill the crew almost never lets an aircraft fly on, controlled for 6 more hours. The recovered debris showed no fire, and the systems went dark selectively, not like a spreading blaze. Verdict, unlikely. Theory 3, the cargo. Theory 3, the cargo hold. MH370 was carrying around 200 kilograms of lithium-ion batteries, the same kind that have brought down cargo jets before. The danger is real. Lithium fires have destroyed cargo jets, and investigators took this cargo seriously, examining how it was packed and stowed. The case 4, a lithium fire burns intensely, resists extinguishing, and can flood a cabin with toxic smoke in minutes. The case against, investigators found the batteries were packed to regulation. No fire signature appeared on any recovered debris, and once again, a hold fire does not fly a plane for 7 silent hours. Verdict, unlikely. Theory 4, the hijacking. Theory 4, hijacking. Someone other than the pilot seizes the cockpit and diverts the jet to a destination of their own. The case 4, 2 passengers had boarded using stolen passports, and for a few days the entire world braced for terrorism. But after the September 11th attacks, cockpit doors are reinforced and locked. A hijacking would mean defeating that door, subduing a trained crew, and doing it all without a single alarm reaching the ground. The case against, those 2 were quickly identified as Iranian asylum seekers with no link to the flight. And a hijacking makes no sense with no claim, no demands, no cause, and an ending in the emptiest ocean on Earth instead of at any destination. Hijackers want something. This flight asked for nothing and went nowhere anyone could use. Verdict, unlikely. Theory 5, the captain. Theory 5, the one investigators keep returning to and the hardest to talk about. That the diversion was deliberate, carried out by someone who understood this aircraft intimately. Be clear about what this theory actually claims. Not a fault, not an accident. A conscious human decision to make an airliner and every soul on it disappear. It fits the evidence uncomfortably well. The turn was flown, not drifted. Systems went dark in a sequence that looks chosen. The satellite rebooted. And the jet was steered toward the one place on Earth it would be almost impossible to find. There is a darker detail investigators examined. Whoever was flying could have deliberately depressurized the cabin while breathing from their own oxygen supply, quietly incapacitating everyone else on board. The radar also showed the aircraft skirting the boundaries between national airspaces and changing altitude near Penang, almost as if someone were threading the gaps between different countries' radar coverage. Investigators also And here is where we choose our words with care, because a real man's name is attached to this. That simulator held thousands of data points from years of use. The official investigation stated the route could not be conclusively linked to the flight. It is a chilling coincidence. It is not proof. After the simulated data emerged, some reached for details of the captain's personal life as a motive. But investigators found no clear evidence of intent, and we will not smear a man the evidence never convicted. The route is a red flag. It is not a confession. No investigation has ever proven that the captain, the first officer, or anyone else deliberately did this. To declare his guilt would be to claim something the evidence has never established, about a man who cannot answer back. The official Malaysian report, after everything, reached only one honest conclusion. The verdict. Theory 6. Shot down. Now the conspiracies. Theory 6. The aircraft was shot down in a military exercise gone wrong or mistaken for a threat, and the truth was quietly buried. The case 4. Militaries across the region were watching that night. And as so many of you pointed out, no fighter jets were scrambled to intercept an unidentified aircraft crossing an entire nation. For a while, investigators could not even rule out that the aircraft had flown north instead, overland, towards Central Asia. But the same Doppler analysis that pointed south ruled the northern path out. There was no secret landing in Kazakhstan. The case against is decisive. A shoot-down over the strait leaves wreckage there that night. But the satellite shows the aircraft flying on for 6 more hours, and the debris drifted ashore years later from the far Southern Ocean, thousands of kilometers away. And for a cover-up to hold, dozens of countries, independent investigators, and Inmarsat's own engineers would all have to lie in perfect concert for over a decade while planting real wreckage on real beaches. The simpler answer is almost always the true one. The timeline and the physical evidence both refuse to fit a shoot-down. Verdict contradicted by the evidence. Theory 7. Diego Garcia. Theory 7, a favorite of the internet. The jet was secretly flown to Diego Garcia, the remote American military base in the middle of the Indian Ocean, and hidden away. The case 4, it is a real, secretive base sitting in roughly the right ocean. The theory feeds on a real distrust of secrecy. If a government wanted to hide something, the logic goes, we're better than a base the public is not even allowed to visit. The case against, the satellite arcs and Doppler analysis put the aircraft thousands of kilometers south of Diego Garcia. And a jet that landed intact cannot also shed a barnacle-covered flaperon onto a beach in Reunion. The wreckage is real. It came from the sea, not from a runway. Verdict debunked. Theory 8, the wild file. And then there is the wild file. That MH370 was used to stage another disaster. That it was abducted. That glowing orbs teleported it out of the sky. Those famous orb videos showing the jet vanishing in a flash of light, they were analysed frame by frame and confirmed to be computer-generated hoaxes. They are not real footage of anything. And it is worth being kind here. People reach for orbs and abductions because 12 years of total silence is genuinely unbearable. The mystery is painfully real. The hoaxes built on top of it are not. The geopolitical swap theories, the alien abductions, the staged disappearances. They are seductive precisely because the truth is so incomplete. Where there are no answers, anyone can sell you one. But every one of them crashes into the same rock. Real, confirmed wreckage from this exact aircraft washed up by a real ocean, exactly where independent satellite math said to look. No hoax survives that. Verdict debunked. The verdict. So line them all up against our 5 hard facts. The conspiracies fall immediately. The debris in the satellite data simply erase them. The accident theories, fire, batteries, hypoxia, explain the quiet ending, but not the deliberate, precise beginning. They cover the last 6 hours and break on the first 20 minutes. Only the deliberate diversion theory explains the turn, the silent sequence, the reboot, and the destination, all together. That is why investigators keep returning to it, however much they wish they did not have to. Only one thing fits all 5 facts at once. A controlled diversion by a human hand or a very specific chain of failure that flew this aircraft into the southern Indian Ocean and ended in a steep, high-speed impact. One honest disagreement survives, even among those who accept the Southern Ocean. Did someone glide it down in a controlled ditching at the controls to the very end? Or did it dive, steep and unpiloted, the moment the fuel ran out? The recovered flap, not set for landing, and the steep final satellite signal both point to a fast, uncontrolled impact. But even this is argued, and it changes where along the arc the wreckage might rest. It is part of why the search has been so brutally hard. That is where the evidence points. And it is also, still, where the evidence stops. Because after 12 years, no one has been able to prove the final step. Who? And why? So we are left with a strange kind of answer. We can tell you, with real confidence, what did not happen to MH370. We still cannot tell you, with certainty, what did. The newest lead. But the case is not closed. In the deep ocean, sound travels for thousands of kilometers, and underwater microphones are always listening. For years, the search leaned on the satellite arcs alone. Now, an entirely new kind of evidence is in play. Scientists went back to the recordings from that night and found a faint, low-frequency signal at a listening station in Australia, arriving from the direction of the 7th arc. In 2026, they are re-examining it. It is not the only unofficial lead. One aerospace engineer claims that faint disturbances in worldwide amateur radio signals can trace the flight path to a specific point. Official investigators are unconvinced, and it is unproven. But it shows how many people still refuse to give up. It is a single, faint signal, a lead, not a location. But with the search now extended into 2027, it could be the thread that finally pulls MH370 out of the dark. Until then, every theory remains just that. And for 239 families, the cruelest part is not that there are too few answers. It is that there are too many, and not one of them is certain. If you haven't seen it yet, our full breakdown of exactly how MH370 vanished, minute by minute, is on the channel now. And subscribe to Black Box. We take the biggest mysteries in history apart, piece by piece, and we tell you the truth, including when the truth is that no one knows yet. Because the truth is always in the details.
If this one got under your skin a little, good. That's the point. And it only keeps happening because people like you keep showing up.
So do one thing for me. Hit subscribe. It is free, and it is the whole reason Black Box can keep taking these disasters apart.